Mishka and welcome back to my channel. So in today's episode of Our Life Beginnings and Always, we are going to be continuing Derek's DLC and we are doing Moment 2, Lemonade. So if you have not seen the last episode, I highly recommend you go and watch that, so you can understand where we're at right now. You've already had some moments with Derek. Honestly, I'm really interested in what this lemonade one is, honestly. And I'm sorry that I haven't uploaded, like, every day. Honestly, I think I'm getting to the realization that I just can't do it every day. So, what I'm going to be trying to do for you guys is setting up an uploading schedule so that I can have a day to record and have a day to upload, instead of it being every single day where I come home from school and then I record for like 2 hours, edit for like 30 minutes, and then it takes another hour to upload depending on how long it is, because it has to process the quality and everything too. And it's a very long process, but you know, yeah, I think I'm just coming to a realization that I can't upload every day. So I think like I said, what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try and figure out what I'm doing each week, and then I'm going to set a day where I'm going to record. Honestly, I need to like do it for like the long run. Oh my goodness. What I'm thinking is to upload Monday. Okay. I have to get back to you guys on that. I honestly don't know. But yeah, everyone, that's what we're going to be doing today. So if you have not already, make sure to subscribe button and share this video with your friends so they can find out about my amazing channel just like you have right now. So yeah, let's get into it. I hope you enjoy. Alright, start! It was afternoon on a sleepy summer day. Nothing urgent needed to be done. No real plans had been made. You and your company were simply hanging out around the local beach, free as the breeze. Cove! Oh my god, I didn't think we would see Cove at all. What am I saying? Of course we're gonna see Cove. They're gonna include the main character because it's step 2. What am I saying? I don't even know. It was one of those good days where the world was your own and you had 2 of your close friends there to enjoy it with. Derek was on your left and Cove was at your right. 3 pairs of footprints trailed along the soft white sand behind you. Derek had only been dropped off minutes ago. He'd brought with him those clothes you had to leave at his house after your night swim. You had taken a minute to put them away. Okay, that's good. But instead of everyone going inside your house or heading to Cove's, you'd simply started to walk. It was definitely hot out. Southern California tended to get that way, but it wasn't so bad that you had to hide away from the beating rays of the sun. Cove's hands were in his pockets. He spoke out while facing away from you. Instead, he lazily watched the unchanging horizon. What do you guys want to do? You and Derek took on matching squints. Normally, there'd be endless answers to that question, but the lackadaisical, oh my god, I've never heard of that word, mood made it feel like trying to solve math problems in a dream. You had nothing. Your thoughts were moving as slowly as the tide that inch towards the shore bit by bit. Oh my god. Finally, the resident problem solver offered a possibility with a yawn and a tall stretch of his arms over his head. Want to walk to the grocery store? What? Cove twisted his face to the opposite side and stared at Derek. A stuttering laugh expressed his disbelief. Why would we go grocery shopping? With a shrug, Derek scratched his cheek and explained. Well, it's probably different here, but where I live, the closest place to get stuff isn't a convenience store or mall or anything. It's a grocery store. So sometimes me and my bros will take a trip down there and see what we can find. You've got some interesting hobbies, Derek, you teased. Derek just laughed. The puzzled reactions from his 2 friends didn't deter him at all. It's really not like normal errands. You can get anything you want. There are a lot of things at the store you can never even think about when you're there with your parents and a list of stuff for the house. Cove's formerly heavy, drooping lids lifted high, showing his bright blue eyes. He glanced between you and Derek for final confirmation that you were seriously doing this today. Derek had complete confidence in his stance. It could be interesting. The corners of your neighbor's mouth perked up as well. Okay, let's go grocery shopping. Cool. It was another successful bit of improvising on Derek's part. He put his hands on his hips eagerly. I'm pretty sure I know where your store is, but the two of you should probably lead the way. Leave it to us. Cove puffed his chest out with pride. He was a true local to the town after being there for so many years. Same old Cove. Your walk continued with an actual destination in mind. You retraced the remnants of your steps in the sand, heading back to the neighborhood, then up the hill and out of the residential area. When you turned onto Main Street, the grocery store was already visible in the distance. It also wasn't going anywhere, so you enjoyed the stroll together. You would arrive when you arrived. Derek continued to sell the concept of his plan by recounting stories of him and his brother's past adventures in Groceryland. So we got super lucky because the discount rack had a whole cherry pie for way off. Me, George, and Nico pulled our pocket change to get it, and then we had an entire pie just like that. We sat outside on a bench near the store and ate it from the pan. It was cut into 6 slices. I only let the kids have 1 piece each. It was already a lot of sugar. I didn't want to make them food sick. I tried to come up with how we were going to explain half a pie to Mom, but Nico had his own idea. He took a slice he wasn't allowed to eat and instead threw it at George. Oh my god. What else is new? Because Nico is a brat. Cove's mouth gasped open at the audacity. Derek laughed out loud at the memory and the response he got in the present. He'd been watching way too many cartoons with food fights and pies to the face, I guess. You'd believe that. If there was one thing Nicholas loved, it was Derek. And if there was another, it was cars. And if there was a third, it was copying things he's seen others do. Obviously, George didn't let that slide and he took the 5th piece of the pie and squashed it right into Nicholas's head. His hair was covered in dark cherry goo. It was a mess, but if you can't beat them, join them. I dumped the last of the pie on myself. Why? It stopped them from fighting over it. They would have ended up feeling bad if they got mad saying I did it. Nicholas doesn't think very far ahead. Oh, what did you do next? We found a water fountain around the back of the grocery store and tried to scrape off as much pie as possible. Then we went home. Mom still figured out what happened. We all had to take real baths. That was a good time. A fond smile settled on Derek's face. He glanced up to the sky while getting lost in an entirely private moment of reminiscing. Cove was still reflecting on the memory with amusement. That's adorable. Thanks. Cove ruffled a hand through his hair, possibly considering how it might have felt to have an entire pie crush into his locks. He smirked. A pie-throwing fight is way more memorable than I would have guessed. The most unexpected thing that happened to me when out shopping was that time I got a free balloon and accidentally popped it pretty much immediately. Oh my god, I remember that. Step 1. It was Derek's turn to chuckle in disbelief. His grin shook just imagining it. It's okay. That was so sad, but also really funny. It was pretty funny. The conversation stayed on the topic of store-related outings. Naturally, that time you all went to the mall with Lee, and technically Kira too, was discussed. Where Cope's mom went during the trip was still highly speculated, but there were theories. The chat didn't last much longer, though. Soon you crossed the street and arrived at Sunset Bird's local mom-and-pop grocery store. You and your 2 co-shoppers headed right through the automatic doors. A shiver went down your spine when you stepped out of the afternoon heat and into the powerful air-conditioned store. Shiny, orderly aisles stretched out in front of you. Each one was tightly packed with a plethora of brightly packaged merchandise. Oh my god. To some people, the rows and rows of items might have been a slog to go through, but seen through Derek's eyes, it was a scavenger hunt with endless opportunities. Though it was Cove who spoke first. Do we need a cart? Nope. Probably not. Derek casually waved that off, eyes still fixated ahead on the altar of commercism ahead. We're here for quality, not quantity. Besides, do we even have that money to buy a ton of things? Oh, wait! Cove suddenly burrowed his hands into his pockets once again. He tucked them in deep, but didn't find what he'd gone in search of. I don't have my wallet. It's at home. Me neither. I thought we'd just be in the neighborhood all day. Yeah. It's cool, I figured. Derek's lack of a reaction couldn't smooth over Cove's obvious response to the situation. His wavy eyebrows pulled down together. We could have stopped by to get it before we left. Nah, this is my idea, so it's my treat. I've got like $8 and some change. Isn't enough for all of us to spend around a few dollars or put it together for one thing? That's gonna be plenty. I promise I'll pay you back. $3? Not even that much? It's really no big deal. I still want to. I will too. Fine, you guys win. Cove's hands finally deserted his pockets and one can rub his forearm instead. Okay, thanks. Let's get something good. Derek took a step forward as he cheered. Alright, here we go. You went down the nearest aisle, swiveling your head to check both sides of the pass as you swung your currently empty of goods arms through the air. The first stop on the market expedition was the discount rack in the back. You didn't have the same luck as Derek and his little brothers. It was the only place in the store that was barren. One shelf had several dented cartons of chicken stock. Stuffed in the bottom of a rack was a bag of plain rolls. The sight was pretty pathetic. Oh my god. Too bad. He shrugged like it was nothing, but his words told a different story. It would have been easy if there was a pie here or a cake or one of those pans with a bunch of cinnamon rolls. Wistfully, Cove continued to mumble a list of miscellaneous pastries that you might have potentially been able to give to Fates had a line. Sorry, Cove. There's still plenty of possibilities. And if push comes to shove, we could afford a smaller treat, like getting 3 boxes with one slice of cake each. God, I can't talk. We wouldn't eat more than that anyway. Maybe you would just eat one. Cove can eat half the pie himself. Wow, alright, it's good. It's a good thing we didn't find one then. Hey! Oh my god. You pushed past the already pilfered treasure chest and continued to chat. You passed cereals, pastas, and sauces, an aisle full of chip bags and soda packs and more. The dry goods and canned foods now behind you, you arrived at the produce section. Their range of goods was much more open than the narrow rows of shelves. The three of you could spread out more in between pallets and baskets of fresh fruits, and vegetables. Derek grabbed an avocado to check its ripeness. Cove stared at the watermelons, appreciating the fruit, but his blank face made it obvious he had no idea how to tell if they were good quality or not. Then a recognizable crackling sound sputtered to life. Both the boys with you lifted their heads. Without conversing, the two rushed over to the back wall where the leafy greens were piled up. A light spray of mist burst from the sprinklers, running down gently on the produce. Cove and Derek stuck their hands into the damp air while snickering. Derek rubbed his hands together to pretend he was washing them. Cove lifted his hands up to be as close to the source of the water as possible. You thought the two of them were so silly. There was something other than water in the air for the both of them to react the same way without having to talk about it. Their improv public shower ended shortly, and it was back to the center of the space for them. Knowing grins were shared between the pair as you regrouped, there was a comfort in realizing someone else had the same silly habit as you. With the distraction over and the mangled, unresolved, Cove helplessly glanced around the store. He was totally stumped. There's a lot of things I like, but I don't have to get any of it now. How do we pick? There was a whine in his tone. He crossed his arms out of frustration. Derek kept it light, same as he would when dealing with his much younger siblings. Dude, you need more imagination. Turn lemons into lemonade. Oh! Actually, wait. Yeah, that's what we should do. We can get some lemons and make our own lemonade. Oh my god, we're gonna have like a lemonade stand or something? The concept struck Cove just as much as Derek. Oh, that would be cool. I think so too. Great. Derek marched with purpose to a box that was heavy with mesh bags of the desired yellow citrus. He tapped a finger to his chin, then bounced one foot to the other. Derek was suddenly a lemon connoisseur who scrutinized the offerings with utmost focus. He selected 2 bags, one in each hand. The bottom of each pack was set against his upturned palms. Derek jiggled the lemons and tried to get a sense of their weight. Finally, the bag on the right was deemed superior, and Derek carefully laid the unwanted bundle back into the stack. Then he lifted the winner high, showing it off to you and Cove. I've got my thing. It's only $3. Your turns. This time, Derek didn't look Derek. This time Cove didn't look aimlessly at what was in front of him. He shut his eyes and put all his mind's power into conjuring up an answer. Sydney stole a quick glance at Derek's lemons through squinted eyes, and then he took a turn. Come on.
Let's go.
Let's do it. He made another trip across the length of the store, this time at a much brisker pace. Cove had a target in sight, even if you couldn't really see it yet. He blew past all the food aisles, the pet shelves, and the cleaning supplies. He only stopped when you made it to the one random aisle in the store with cheap plastic kids' toys. This is it. His words were eager and certain. There was a childish excitement to Cove that was fitting for the location. He reached a hand into the pocket with yo-yos and bubble blowers. His fingers laid on a bag of water balloons. Oh my god. Drinking lemonade is gonna make me want to have fun outside too. We can use this for that. Perfect plan, Cove. I'm amazed you didn't get food. Me too. For all his previous indecision, the sweetness of victory was all the more worth it for Cove. His selection was even cheaper than Derek, $2 and a bit of change. All that was left of Derek's money was $3 in your choice of prize. Derek patiently cradled his bag of lemons while Cove watched you expectantly, excited to see what the final piece of the puzzle would be. You reflected on the theme that was forming your own preferences and the shareability of different goods. And then you opened your mouth and said, I want these little umbrellas to put into the drinks. Excellent, May. You got to lead the way out of the toy aisle and back into the thick of the grocery store traffic. You wandered around the aisles until you found the right spot. You took another minute to pick up the best little umbrellas and then you were done. With items at hand, you, Derek, and Cove went through the checkout line. Derek dug out his pocket change and paid for the odd arrangement of items. None of you bothered to get a bag. Derek's was already in one, and you and Cove could easily carry your things on your own. After a successful grocery trip, you returned to the great outdoors to walk back to the neighborhood. This kind of outing reminded you that it wasn't about what you were doing. What counted on was who you were doing with. Outside, you gathered in front of the crosswalk and waited for a chance to get back on the main sidewalk. While standing around, it was unanimously decided that you'd bring your goods to Cove's house and make the lemonade there. Your home had the rest of Elizabeth deciding she wanted a pre-dinner snack. She wouldn't appreciate having a lemon-making operation in the way. There was no worry of that in the Holden condo. Cove's mom and dad were out, and even if they weren't, they were his parents, not his big bossy siblings. They wouldn't even dream of throwing the three of you out of the kitchen to use it instead. Derek was thinking along similar lines based on what he said next. Honestly, man, I can't even wrap my head around what it's like to not have any siblings hanging around the house at all. I don't mean that you're weird for that. It's just gotta be so different. Is it? I have my dad here. My mom is staying right now, too. Yeah, but that's not the same. Parents take care of the kids, and the kids have a bunch of stuff they need. Every day has to be about me and my brothers. If we go out to eat, will everyone like the stuff there, or will George be too picky? Are we all old enough to do whatever the thing is, or is Nicholas too little? My birthday is the only time I can do everything that I want for the whole time, and I still choose to keep my bros in mind, even though my parents don't make me.
It's okay.
I don't mind, but it's crazy imagining a world where I don't have to do that. Huh, I hadn't thought about that. Cove's eyes darted back and forth, and he bit the inside of his cheek. I guess having siblings or not changes how someone thinks. I figured people who would be who they are no matter what, but maybe I would have needed to at least be a little different if I had to share my parents in life all the time. I'm glad both of you are who you are. Thanks, May. Me too. But the road was clear, so Derek got the conversation and his legs moving again. He started preparations by listing off what you need to gather when you made it back. Sugar, ideally some ice and really cold water, a pitcher or something like that. Do you have one of those lemon squeezers? We can do it by hand if we've gotta. With every object Derek recited, Cove nodded along plainly, but he was watching something off in the distance. His faraway thoughts made Derek's words reach him less and less until Derek noticed a lack of reaction. He called to Cove more loudly to catch this attention. Are you okay, dude? Oh. Cove blinked as his brain snapped back into place in the center of his head. It's nothing. What were we talking about? Derek spun his lemon bag into a mini tornado by twisting it around tight from the bottom and then releasing it. He snickered. No worries. I was just making plans for making the lemonade. Okay. The rest of the trip passed by comfortably. Derek carried the conversation and Cove really paid attention from then on. Once you'd arrived in your neighborhood and reached Cove's front door, the resident of the building opened it up without needing a key. It was already unlocked. Derek gasped upon seeing such a lack of security. Cove, however, was so relaxed and content that he yawned while going inside. That unknowingly cut off Derek's chance to question Cove about his choice not to lock the door. He simply followed his friend inside and you did as well. Cove leisurely crossed his living room to drop his bag of water balloons on the coffee table for later. You left your little umbrellas there alongside it.
I'm on it.
Alright. Derek went straight into the kitchen. He had his lemon bag over his shoulder like a gym bag and flipped it over to sit it beside the sink. He slipped his thumbs through the holes of the mesh and tore it. Where's your colander? Cove paused, looking incredulously at the wall. Then he turned and projected his confusion across the counter towards the source of it.
What?
My what? Undeterred, Derek was quick to offer a rephrase. A strainer. In the lower cabinet, the one on the left. Derek pressed his hands into the marble and leaned forward with a grin. Thanks, Cove. I can't believe... I've never heard a strainer be called a colander in my life. Really? Wow. Then the spiky-haired chef ducked down and disappeared from your sight. If you could call someone who made lemonade a chef, that is. When he popped back into view, framed by the back wall and the support beams at the front of the kitchen, Derek was holding a silver strainer. He plopped it into the sink and it sharply clinked against the middle basin. Derek took the bag he set nearby and dumped every single lemon into the waiting container. He turned the faucet so he could clean the cherry fruits. The sound of running water added an extra layer of relaxation to the atmosphere. Cove stopped waddling and joined the already hard at work Derek in the kitchen. He grabbed a cutting board and a large knife from an upper drawer. It was his house, and he wordlessly claimed responsibility for the riskiest part of making the lemonade. Cove also directed you towards the sugar and a few other things. As it turned out, Mr. Holden didn't have an actual lemon squeezer, so you were going to be doing that by hand. He did have a perfectly crystal clear glass pitcher that'd be perfect for the lemonade. The body of it was a completely round ball shape. It had a narrow edge that pulled in at the top with one side pitched into a spout. As far as you could tell, it had never been used. Wow. Have you made lemonade before, May, Cove? Derek casually questioned both of you while he headed the so-called colander up and down to shake some of the water clinging to the freshly washed lemons. Oh my god, sorry. Never. I'd made really simple lemonade before just for me. I squeezed one lemon into a glass of water and dumped in a spoonful of sugar. It wasn't that great, but it was easy. Cool. Derek hummed while placing lemons on a clean kitchen towel. He took a fruit from the colander with his left hand, passed it over to his right, and placed it down while grabbing a new one.
It's all good.
I've made it before too. Fresh lemonade's so good. I'm excited for this. So am I. Your tools were all prepared now, so the team shifted into the actual creation of the traditional summer drink. Cove cut the lemons into chunks. Derek gave Cove a tip to roll the lemons against the board before slicing them to get the juices going. You and Derek worked hard together to squash the fruits. You squeezed the lemon parts over the pitcher itself with a smaller strainer balanced over the mouth of it to catch seeds. Piece by piece, you crushed the thick peel into itself to pop the little sacs of juice in the fruit. The tips of your fingers began to wrinkle after a while. But slowly a murky liquid pooled at the bottom of the glass container. When enough fruits were chopped, Cove joined in the juicing effort. The three of you huddled around the counter together. You leaned over the one pitcher and strained to get everything you could out of the little yellow menaces while not accidentally squirting acid into anyone's eyes. Oh my god, yeah, that would be awful. The precariousness of the situation aside, Cove continued the conversation with a question of his own. Derek, you made lemonade, but did you ever do the whole lemonade stand thing where you... I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! I knew it! I knew that was gonna be it! I knew it! I knew it! Where you try to sell it to random people who pass by? Oh yeah, it was a mess, and I think we only sold like 2 cups. Nicholas kept drinking our supply, and George's effort to stop him spilled even more of it. I knew it! I knew we were gonna end up doing that. Plus, the two kids fighting over the lemonade jar probably scared people away from the stall. But it's not like I was expecting that to be some kind of entrepreneurial success. It was for Nico and George to have fun, and they did mostly. As usual, tales of Derek's endeavors as a big brother got Cove to chuckle. You were also smiling even though your fingers had started to cramp after so much lemon compacting. I never got to do it. It's not fair. Our neighborhood has almost no one who goes through. My mom's wouldn't let me go all the way to the main street to set it up. But man, all this business talk makes me think about how I only met either of you because my dad partnered with Cove's dad's business. If that hadn't happened, you probably wouldn't have ever learned I existed. You still know each other, obviously. Aw. Derek squeezed his 12th lemon chunk with a fittingly sour expression on his face. He had accidentally made himself feel like a third wheel. No, you're... Oh my god, we're not third wheel. And the cluster of... the person who's the third wheel here is Cove. Bye, Cove! In the cluster of human juicers, Derek was in the middle, yet he began to fade despite being right next to you. You and Cove looked at one another from being over Derek's lower head. Cove pushed himself to smile through his concern while also giving Derek's arm a little nudge with his elbow. I worry about that kind of thing sometimes too. If my dad hadn't picked this street to move to, I wouldn't have met May. The bravery he mustered began to disintegrate after putting the trip to the front of his mind. Cove swallowed bitterly. I don't like it when I start thinking about that.
It's okay.
But my dad still would have had his business, so I still would have met you. Sheepishly, Derek pressed his shoulders up around his face. He managed a small smile. Yeah, it's right for all of us. Where your parents live and what your parents do has to matter so much to everything. Derek bit his lip, unwilling to let himself continue to speak negatively. But... like a turtle coming out of his shell, Derek lifted himself off the counter and rejoined you and Cove at his regular eye level. We did meet each other and we're friends. That's what counts. Exactly. What if still make a difference because we're really all here? Yeah. Cove quietly watched over his friend, soothed by his uplifted mood. Then his lip parted as a pleasant thought came to mind. Hey, this is where I was standing when I first met you. Oh, yeah. Derek bounced up on his toes and tossed the lemon piece he'd been working on over into the trash and landed inside perfectly. But I was on the other side of the counter back then, and now I'm here in the kitchen with you. That caught your ear, and you lifted one of your brows. You remember the night that Cove told you he met a new kid named Derek, but he didn't say much about it. All you really knew was that their parents had started working together, and then Derek began to come around the neighborhood for visits. Derek could recognize an intrigued audience when he saw one and did what he knew how to do, tell the rest of the story. Mr. Holden invited my dad over for a meal at his house after their partnership was official. He talked about Cove before when him and my dad were getting to know each other. You can't get away from hearing about Mr. Holden's top-notch son if you spend any time with him. Off to the side, Cove mumbled with embarrassment over what he clearly thought was an unnecessary addition. Derek laughed the minor interruption off and went on. So my dad suggested that I come too, since we were the same age. Mr. Holden was apparently really into the idea. I had no idea what to expect from something like that, but I wanted to go to a sort of business dinner with my dad. It felt pretty cool to be invited, and then I went. Whatever. I was imagining before I got there, Mr. Holden definitely wasn't it. I had thought my dad was casual for a professional business person, but Cove's dad takes the cake. A warmth came to Cove's expression, not the red hot heat of fluster from before, but a gentleness that was based in the honest love for his parent. A lot of people don't expect Dad to be how he is. What did you think about me when you first met me, you know? Derek mindlessly scratched his damp head against the back of his head. A stray lemon seed clung to one of the spikes in his hair. You didn't want to cut the two off, so the little bit went unmentioned.
No way.
Honestly, when I spotted you in the back of the kitchen, I thought Mr. Holden had another older kid he was hiding, because there was no way that guy was 13. You were so tall and fit, and you just stared at people. You seemed like a tough, upper grade teen who never talked to somebody like me. You snickered under your breath. If you didn't know any better, you'd think he was describing Elizabeth. Having that description be assigned to Cove, Holden of all people, was hilarious. Cove was equally startled by Derek's choice of words. His eyes opened wide in amazement. You thought I was tough? Yeah, I did, but thought is definitely the right word for that. That instantly put Cove into a pouty mood. He pressed both his palms against the marble countertop, not bothering to squeeze another lemon. Cove didn't want to play anymore. Derek leaned his shoulder against Cove's side affectionately. He reached past him to the lemon's life Cove wasn't using and started juicing himself. Sorry, there's nothing wrong with being a softie. I like that about you. Bringing Derek's statement to life, Cove visibly relaxed his stance. The tone of his voice was equally delicate. I guess it's not bad. Cove was honestly kidding himself if he thought he was anything other than a sensitive sweetheart. But just like Derek, that was something you treasured about him. It's great, Cove. Cove took a new piece of fruit and rejoined the lemonade, making efforts. Derek pinched an eye shut from the tension of crushing a chunk in his fist. He hesitantly continued the topic. So what about me? When you first met me, what kind of impression did you get? With much less force, Cove used both hands to work on his single lemon. He answered the question while staring off into space. That was likely the same expression Derek had seen the moment they'd met. The face he'd read as intimidating rather than easily distracted. I thought he probably liked sports. All three of you shook from laughter, bumping against each other with your closeness, like a bunch of grapes on a vine rustling in the wind.
I get it.
Okay, May, your turn. What did you think about me when we met? Oh, okay. Your mind drifted back to a few months ago before summer vacation had begun. You step out of your house late in the evening, and Cove was sitting on the curb with someone else, someone you'd never seen in your life, not even passing at school. A green-eyed boy with a football jersey who was joking around lightheartedly with your longtime neighbor. You guessed immediately that he was the Derek kid from the Holden's new business relationship. That, or Cove had learned a magic spell to summon a new friend out of nowhere. You had stood there staring for only a second, but the newcomer noticed your presence quickly. He jumped right to his feet, jogged across the street, and stuck out his hand for you to shake. With the wide grin that you were so familiar with now, he introduced himself to you for the first time as Derek. I thought you were cute. Really? Thanks. Oh, look at that smile. Derek is so cute. Oh my god. Really? Thanks. Are you gonna tell me what you thought of me when we met? Derek's gaze shifted from the picture in front of him to settle on you instead. There was a focus in his eyes and made you hold your breath from anticipation. Oh my god! I thought you were cute too. Oh my god, these two are adorable. You'd hoped you'd be able to inhale again after you spoke, but that only made it worse. You struggled to get any oxygen in. You began to blush. By the way, you have a lemon seed in your hair. Oh. Derek raked his hands through his light-bound strands blindly. Unfortunately, he focused on the top and side, so he never hit the right spot. One of your hands covered the laughter coming out of your mouth, and you used the other to point at the target on the back of his head. Finally, he was able to brush the seed onto the floor. He bent down to pick it up and dropped it to the side on the counter. Thanks, May. You're welcome. Oh my god, they're so cute. Oh my god, I love Derek and Cove. Woo. We could add a little of lemon zest too. I'll do that. Derek fumbled to move the topic to something else. His darkening cheeks were probably the reason why. Do you have a grater or a peeler? Yeah. Cove gestured to the same drawer the knife had come from. Derek dug through until he successfully retrieved a multi-texture grater. He took a step to the opposite side of the kitchen, not getting in the way, and worked with his back to you and Cove. Cove tilted his head thoughtfully. He was inspired by Derek's work ethic. If it's gonna be fancy lemonade with zest, then we should do that thing where you put the whole slices in too. I can cut a few of the leftover lemons. Cool. Meg, can you pour the water and sugar in the pitcher so it can start to dissolve? Yep. You start by filling up the sparkly jug with chilled filtered water from the fridge, and you remember to put ice in the drink too. The diluted lemon juice sloshed around and threatened to spill over as you piled in the ice. You left some space for Cove's lemon slices. Finally, you took hold of the hefty bag of white sugar and pulled it close to the counter's edge. Stray grains of sugar that coated the bag came to stick against your still damp fingers instead. You felt like you were building a sandcastle at the beach. You added a full cup of sugar. I don't know how to make sugar. You searched around the kitchen until you found a colorful cream mixing spoon. You dunked it into the pitcher and carefully stirred. A quiet smile grew on your face as you watched the bits of sugar swirl around in the pale yellow drink. At this point, the separate ingredients had truly come together to become lemonade. Round and round you turned the spoon, and it was almost hypnotic the way the juice whirled around inside the pitcher. Your trance was broken by a sharp hiss at your side. You dropped the spoon, losing in the depths of the lemonade, and snapped your head towards Cove. Oh no. He was holding his left hand up to his face. A thick bubble of dark red had slipped down from one of his fingers and left a streak over his palm. Oh, ouch. That's not great. Where do you keep the bandages? Cove plainly shrugged. It's nothing. Cove! Without even thinking about it, Cove reached his hand down to wipe the mess on his pants. Are you an idiot? Luckily for his trousers, Derek flipped around at the commotion. His tense, worried face took in the scene, and a disbelieving shout startled Cove into freezing. Don't do that! Cove stared incredulously from the corner of his eyes with an arm awkwardly sticking out from his side. His sudden pause in a strange position reminded you of the red light, green light game you played at your elementary school, except there was no green and only in red in Cove's version. I'm fine. No way. Seriously, Cove, you have to take care of that. Derek stretched his arms high to grasp the taller teen by the shoulder as he stepped backwards, getting Cove to move with him. We're going to clean that off for real. Cove muttered an averted fine as he stumbled along Derek, who was reversing out of the kitchen. May I do my cleaning at the cutting board? No, I'll take care of it. You gathered the knife onto the cutting board and brought it over to the trash. The lemon slices couldn't be used in a drink after that. You used the knife to scrape them off and into the bag. Then you got to rinsing the board and knife in the sink with soap and hot water. You switched between staring down at the suds and checking over the counter for the boys. You were careful not to accidentally get a cut of your own, but it was hard not to wonder what was going on down the hall. By the time you finished washing up, Cove and Derek had re-emerged in the living room. An unassuming brown bandage was wrapped around the cuff on Cove's finger.
It's okay.
It's okay, it wasn't deep. We washed it off, got it clean, and put a bandage on it. Good as new. Derek marched with confidence right back into the kitchen. Cove hesitated in the living room. He waved apologetically. Hey. Hey, you're really okay? I definitely am. I just dipped myself in a lemon slip. The juice stinging me was way worse than the cut itself. That's a relief. Thanks for helping, Derek. Thank you, too. It's cleaner in here. He held his hand up to you for a high five. It had been washed clean of the lemon juice that coated it before. You slapped his hand. You swung your you swung your palm forward and clapped Derek back. He pumped his arms enthusiastically as a follow-up. Cove walked over to join the two of you, smiling ruefully. Thanks for caring. Always, man. Now what? Well, he took a second look between you and Cove as he puzzled out a next step, and then he beamed. Let's try our lemonade. It doesn't need the slices or the zest. Derek gave an exaggerated wave across the front of his chest, blowing the whole thing off. Cove eagerly supported the sentiment. He was more than ready to put the prior incident behind him.
You're right.
Yeah, lemonade doesn't need to be fancy. It's lemonade. Ah, that looks so good! Derek nodded twice as he straightened and lit the nearly full pitcher. He had it balanced on his tiptoes to pour the juice into the set of 3 glasses that had been put out earlier. If Derek noticed there was a spoon clattering around there, he pretended that he didn't. Thank you. At the same time, Cove and Derek tipped their cups and took full gulps of the drink. They savored the taste, and you watched as the reaction formed. Cove smiled continually while Derek cheered with enthusiasm. It's good. Derek gave a thumbs up to that. It's a perfect cup of lemonade. Good work, team. You gladly joined them in taking a sip, enjoying every drop of your hard work. It was absolutely refreshing. Cove chugged the rest of the drink, then placed the empty cup down firmly. His enthusiasm was continuing to rise. Let's fill the water balloons. Slowly, cautiously, Derek questioned Cove's plan. He didn't want to ruin things, but expressing concern was more important.
Sure.
Will you really be alright in a water balloon fight with your finger and stuff? Cove remained relaxed in the face of Derek's worry. He wasn't going to bring the mood down after the commotion he caused earlier. He responded to the inquiry by slickly pulling out the big gun. Your neighbor smirked as he held up his left arm over his chest, showing the full length of the jagged, pale scar that marked him. I've had worse. Derek's eyes widened and his mouth was stuck hanging open. You'd seen Derek in a swimsuit. He didn't have a single scratch on his skin, or if he did, it was tiny enough to be covered by nothing more than a neon shorts. He could only imagine what Cove had gone through to get an injury with such a lasting impact. So if Cold Holden said he could manage a cut, he could manage the cut. Whoa, you know, you're pretty tough after all. The compliment had Cove preening. He caressed his trusty scar and giggled childishly. Oh my god. Yeah, you make a good point. Alright, let's do it. Nothing else needed to be said. The three of you busted open the baggie of water balloons, pushed the tools of your lemonade production aside, and got to work on another summer group project. You stretched the open end of the water balloon over the faucet. The plastic fit snugly over the silver spout. You still kept your hands on it to make sure the balloon didn't pop off and shot a stream into your face like a busted water fountain. Derek flipped the handle up for you, and the first saggy balloon rapidly expanded. Out of the bag, the balloon was a dark emerald color, but in only a few seconds, the bolted sack of water had stretched so thin the green had become almost translucent. It was as pale as Cove's hair. Oh my god. Before it was pushed beyond its limit, Derek turned the faucet off again. You carefully pinched the strained top of your perfectly plump toy and then harvested it off the silver vine. Oh my goodness. Cove reached out for it as he intended to tie the balloons while you and Derek continued filling. Derek looked between the balloon and Cove's hand and called a timeout. He'd been a little overeager to get involved and realized in the moment that their team arrangement wasn't the most efficient. He requested to switch positions with Cove. Cove rolled his eyes but couldn't argue. His bandage could easily be yanked right off by the two loops of plastic that formed around the fingers while tying them. Your optimized party got back into action with you hooking balloons into place, Cove handling water distribution, and Derek sealing the deal with a knot. Soon you had a couple dozen shiny water balloons overflowing in the sink basin. I can't talk, honestly. Sorry. Cove pushed off from the counter silently. He disappeared from the kitchen and left you and Derek wondering. He went down the hall into his bedroom. He was only gone for a minute before stepping back into the hall with a pure white hole-speckled laundry basket. The point of that was obvious, but his choice of bin did get a bit of ribbing from Derek. Did you dump your clothes on the floor for that? Yeah, they were already dirty. Oh my god, Cove. Oh. Derek blinked. He hadn't expected that to be true or for Cove to be so straightforward about it. You snickered at the exchange, still casually leaning against the sink. What else? What else do we expect from Cove, When Cove dropped the very newly empty laundry basket on the tile, you cradled a few water bottles in your arms and placed them inside. Cove and Derek joined him in the transfer. Eventually, every water balloon had safely made it into the basket. Nice work. Derek and Cove each took one side and lifted, while you helped steer by grabbing the back end. Moving as one, the three of you shuffled out of the kitchen through the living room to take your treasured chest of jiggly jewels into the neighborhood. The door was open, the drop from the curb to the street was overcome, and you successfully placed the laundry basket in the center of the empty road. Well, we're here. We are here. Oh god, here we go. Derek slowly curled and uncurled his fist. Cove didn't take his eyes off you or Derek. No one made a move for the pile. You broke the pause and grabbed a weapon. Cove flashed out like a snake at your move and got his hand around a balloon of his own before you could do anything with yours. But Derek wasn't going to be left behind either. He stuck both his hands deep into the mass and came up with two balloons. Oh no! In quick succession, Derek launched one shot at you and the other at Cove. Ah! You felt the impact of a solid object slamming against your chest before it burst into a million pieces, and a shock of cold water seeped into the front of your dress. Cove was left sputtering with a dark stain at the lower edge of his top. He shook the hit off and chuckled a water balloon directly at Derek in return, and it exploded against his right shoulder. No one was dry anymore, and no one was safe. The war was on. You threw yours at Cove. It landed true and added a second dripping blotch on Cove's usual shirt. Awesome, May! The three of you elbowed against the others to dig into the pile and restock your supplies. Politely taking turns was out of the question. The water balloon fight was in full force. Derek sprinted up and down the street, making himself into a moving target. He could only make a mad dash for the center area when he ran out of balloons. Cove had no fear of being an easy mark and stayed right by the laundry basket, lobbing strike after strike at you and Derek. You chased after Derek. As fast as he was, you stayed hot on his heels. Derek had a duck from shots raining over him thanks to Cove and watched his back on account view. He darted around, skipping, jumping, and changing course in a mostly vain attempt to avoid the onslaught, though he breathed heavily through a massive grin. Laughter and water splashes filled the normally quiet Sunset Bird neighborhood. You were convinced the mean grandparents would jump out and shout about the noise. Oh my god, I remember them. Luckily, no one interrupted your revelry. And even if someone had, they would have been putting their dryness at risk by confronting your group. Rapidly, the amount of balloons dwindled until each person only had one left in hand, and the laundry basket had nothing except a little puddle at the bottom with scrapes of rubber scattered in it. Arms were held high in the air, taking aims, and eyes shifted from one option to the other. Derek wound his hand further back, Cove, and you couldn't take your eyes off him. Your teeth gritted as you tried desperately to calculate where the balloon would fly. Would it be Cove or you? Oh, however, Derek chose neither. He launched it straight up into the air. It reached an impressive height. You could barely see the speck of yellow against the vast blue sky, until it inevitably sailed down and smacked against the tarmac. Derek broke into more snickers the exact moment the balloon broke into 1,000 drops of water. He wasn't the only one amused by the stunt. Cove smiled bent, and he opened his fingers till his balloon dropped harmlessly to the ground. Cove didn't pick it back up. Instead, he brutally brought his foot against his own weapon and decimated it under his heel. A jovial truce had been formed between the two. You threw it at Derek. But that ceasefire didn't have to apply to you. Without mercy, you pelted Derek with a final blow. It sputtered against the center of his torso, and he was left in a stunned daze. Then he cheered. Oh, awesome. That was great. That was how the grandest battle your neighborhood had likely ever seen came to an end. You were all dripping wet and out of breath, and you couldn't be happier. Derek rubbed his hands together in satisfaction before crouching to the ground to start collecting tiny bits of water balloon debris. Cove strolled around to gather the confetti-like trash on his own accord as well. There didn't have to be a discussion. Derek and Cove had that quality in common, a distaste for litter. You appreciated that about the both of them, and joined in to help pick up the pieces off the ground. You quietly wandered around, filling your fist with the rubbery remains as the sun crept behind the condo roofs. Your shadows grew longer in the waning light. You felt the damp cling of your clothes more acutely as the excitement died down. Your team managed to finish cleaning before night had completely fallen. All of the trash was dumped into a tall green trash can at the side of Cove's house. With all that remained of the Cardinals being a few drying watermarks spotting on the street, your group had returned to the state you'd originally started in, directionless relaxation. Cove had been perfectly willing to return to his house while still wet and scrounge up fresh glasses of lemonade, plus he had your little umbrellas tucked under his arm. It was a struggle to balance it all. But Cove took one for the team as someone who actually lived there. You and Derek didn't have to go in and make a mess of the Holden home, though you imagine Cove's dad wouldn't have cared. He passed a drink to you and one to Derek, and then used his free hand to flip the laundry basket over. It was less flimsy than it looked because Cove sat on it and it didn't buckle at all. Derek politely passed on the seat Cove provided. He remained standing while shifting his weight from one foot to the other. You stood around near Derek. That's where you would be the most comfortable. Derek welcomed you to the standing section with a grin. Cove quietly took a sip of his lemonade. Derek circled the top of his glass with the tip of one finger, watching Cove.
You alright?
How's your hand? Cove savored another taste of the drink, let out a refreshed sigh, and then answered,
It's okay.
It's still fine. Cool. The ritual of checking on him was complete, and Derek could only chuckle bashfully over his habit. Cove smiled over the rim of his cup. There was a comfort in knowing Derek would always care. Before enjoying the rest of the lemonade, Cove remembered to anoint his cup with one of the mini tropical umbrellas. Derek and you both got your own from the box. You got to have pretty fancy lemonade after all. The air was warm enough to be comfortable even with your wet clothes. Lemonade, little umbrellas, and good company. That was what days like these were for. It couldn't get much better. Cove agreed contentedly without you even having to say so. Summer really is the best season.
Same.
I think so too. Me 3. Awesome. A gentle expression rested on Derek's face as he spoke softly. It'd be nice if things could be like this all the time, huh? But then Derek lifted his glass and spoke in mock outrage to the world at large. Why can't it always be summer break? Despite it being an obvious joke, Derek's words struck a chord with Cove. His total chill hardened to seriousness. He drowned his second glass of lemonade and hopped onto his feet. I'm gonna go check something. You should come, both of you. He considered that as a sufficient offer because Cove suddenly walked back to the front of his house and left the empty glass at the side of the door. Derek's gaze followed his friend and he lifted one brow. What are we gonna see? You'll see when we get there. You're probably gonna try to talk me out of it, so you don't need to know now. Oh god, what? He almost dropped his cup. Derek twisted his head to track Cove's moves with his saucer-wide eyes. May is gonna get it. Oh yeah, I take that bet.
Fine.
Come on. Still completely confident, Cove strolled up the road. Derek gulped, but not the lemonade. He pointed a panicked glance at you. We should go. Alright. Derek hooked his open arm through the side of the handle of the laundry basket. He jogged on his tiptoes over to Cove's condo that Ben bumped along against the street behind him. He flung it in front of him and left it there in the entry. He placed his half lemonade by Cove's. You were right behind him. You dropped the little umbrellas into the laundry basket and completed the set of glasses by placing yours next to theirs. Let's go. After another light jog, you caught up to Cove. He was going at a leisurely pace and smirked when he saw the two of you in the corner of his vision. Hey. Hi. Oh, no. Together, you, Cove, and Derek left your neighborhood and returned to the main sidewalk that you took to reach the grocery store hours earlier. An exchange of glances between you and Derek was the only interaction you had during the walk. Cove kept his sun-kissed face forward and his mouth shut. Shopping wasn't on your neighbor's mind because that building was passed without acknowledgement. He was taking you further down the path. Oh no, don't tell me we're going to go all the way to the edge of town. Only about a minute later, your progress was halted by a row of strikingly orange traffic cones and strings of droopy do not cross banners. Should we go around? No, we're here. Huh? Derek stalled. Cove, however, got onto his knees and turned the blocked off area. His eyes were glinting with intention. I saw this when we were leaving, but people were working on it. The concrete is still wet and there's no one around now. Yet again, Cove had knocked a gas out of Derek. You're not gonna mess it up, right? Cove didn't have to say anything to answer. He shared a coy smile that was enough. Oh, Cove, that is really bad. What? Oh my god, Cove, what? Oh my god, why are you doing this? The grin on Derek's face trembled, both from laughter threatening to spill out and the fear of getting in trouble. Why am I not surprised? Because you know me. Cove fiercely stuck his finger into the muddy gray concrete. He slowly etched out a series of numbers. When he was done, the corner of the block had 2011 scribbled into it for all to see. What? It's 2011? In this time period? What? Oh my god. Wait. So step 3 is in 2016 since it's all 5 years. And then step 1 is 2006? Oh my god. And then step 4 is 2021. Oh my god. Even my flu was like, what? He surveyed his work with pride while wiping his dirty finger on the side of his pant leg. Oh my god, Cove. You wrote all 3 of your initials. There was plenty of space for you to get the signatures in there. The 3 pairs of letters were placed all around Cove's 2011. That's nice. Cove stared hard at the ground, or at the soft forbidden canvas, and slowly crouched down. He paused, bit his lip, then ultimately pressed one finger into the tacky surface to leave a small print. He left the sign of his presence there on that day, right along with Cove and you. Relief came to Derek's features once he'd finished. Hopefully it dries before anyone finds out. Yeah. The single word was only a whisper, but it was warm and pure. Thanks for taking us, Cove. You're welcome. Aww. Cove dusted his pants off as he stood after a job well done. Derek shot up as well, newly invigorated. He looked to the sky and squinted at the sun. The day was coming to an end, but no one could say your group had wasted it. That was true for the entire summer. No matter what happened when school started again and when an unknown future arrived, you'd still have all the memories you made together when you had the chance and the things you left behind. Yay! I did it! I didn't mess up! Oh my god, y'all! That's the second moment done! Wow. Honestly, I like that one a lot. I thought we were gonna have a lemonade stand, honestly. That'd be honestly kind of interesting if someone incorporated that in a game. But wow, oh my god, I like that one a lot. I like that better than the first one, honestly, because Derek's brothers are annoying. Well, George is fine. It's just Nicholas I don't like. Nico. We hate Nico. At least I do. Sorry, everyone who likes Nico, I don't like him. But yeah, everyone, that's the end of moment 2 for Derek's DLC. Holy crap, we're almost halfway through this. Oh my god, and then we got step 4 left. How have we already ended everything with Cove and now we're almost done with Derek? Oh my god. Like already. But like, yeah, everyone, that's all for today's video. So if there's like cuts in between this video, it's because they were recorded on different days, and I'm sorry about that. I've been sick all this past week, and today I finally felt better. And the coughing that you've been hearing in this video, I might cut it out, honestly. But if you have heard anything, it's not even as bad. It was bad earlier, like, Lord. But yeah, everyone, that's all for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, so we will do sorry next time. And oh my god, I can't wait because we're gonna ask Derek. Siblings and boardwalk. Ooh, we get to go up here as well. Oh god, I can't wait for that one. Okay, everyone. But yeah, that's all for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it. But lastly, you're a gem, and thank you for watching. Wonderful day, everyone. Bye!